senior government officials, the media fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our 32nd post-cabinet press briefing, 21st October 2025. Allow me to invite the chairperson of this session, the Honorable Minister of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services, Dr. Mswere, to lead us in this discussion. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chief Secretary Dr. Martin Rushwaya, members of the Fourth Estate, fellow Zimbabweans. Today, His Excellency the President, Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, chaired the 32nd Cabinet meeting, and the following issues, among others, were considered and approved. Cabinet noted the update on the winter 2025 and the summer 2025-2026 production plan. The government of Zimbabwe, using various consumption scenarios, has established that there is adequate grain at national level. The Zimstats post-harvest survey of the 25th of September 2025 established that some 1,311,000 metric tons of grains made up 1,064 metric tons of maize and 264,000 metric tons of traditional grains are being held by farmers across the country. A total of 943,000 metric tons of grain valued at United States $367 million was marketed through various off-takers. The government of Zimbabwe will continue releasing funds for outstanding payments to farmers for grain delivered. Meanwhile, the harvesting of winter wheat is well underway, with 57.6% of the planted wheat having been harvested. A total of 27,796 metric tons of barley have been harvested at an average yield of 7.6 metric tons per hectare. As for Irish potato, a total of 5,977 hectares has been planted against a target of 9,000 hectares. There is, however, an improved yield of 28 metric tons per hectare compared to 26 metric tons per hectare achieved last year. Regarding the 2026 crops production, the aim is to produce enough food to feed the nation, to support the strategic grain reserves, and also to increase exports. For cereals, a total of 2,609,000 hectares are targeted to produce 3,207,000 metric tons of grain. Preparations for the Pfumvudza Intwasa scheme is ongoing, with 9,190,000 plots having been prepared. Regarding tobacco, a total of 21,773 hectares has been planted, marking a 29% increase. Cabinet approved the update on preparations for the 2025 SADC Anti-Sanctions Day commemorations. The annual SADC Anti-Sanctions Day commemorations will be held on the 25th of October 2025 under the theme Inclusive Development through Heritage-Based Innovation and Industrialization in a Multilateral World. The objectives of the Anti-Sanctions Day are as follows: to call for the unconditional removal of all unjustified and illegal sanctions, to raise awareness in terms of the negative impact of the illegal sanctions, and to celebrate the resilience of the people of Zimbabwe under the visionary leadership of His Excellency the President, Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, to reaffirm Zimbabwe's appreciation for regional and international solidarity in the fight against the unilateral coercive measures imposed on our country. A number of activities have been lined up for the day, including the following: a national address by His Excellency the President Dr. E.D. Mnangagwa, which will highlight the government's people-centered policies and the resilience of the Zimbabwean people in terms of resisting external pressure. The dissemination of His Excellency the President's address by Zimbabwean embassies to host governments, as well as lobbying them to support the country in its fight against the illegal sanctions. The issuance of a SADC statement by the SADC Secretariat in commemoration of the SADC Anti-Sanctions Day. An anti-sanctions solidarity event and an anti-sanctions gala organized by the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting Services at the Heritage Village, with musicians and artists performing. The release of a documentary by the Ministry of Women Affairs showcasing achievements by the small and medium enterprises sector, and a public lecture and student-led panel discussions organized by the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education through the University of Zimbabwe. Cabinet received and adopted the progress reports on the implementation of the Zimbabwe Industrial Reconstruction and Growth Plan. The plan is a bridging transitional framework between the expired Zimbabwe National Industrial Development Policy and the upcoming new Zimbabwe National Industrial Development Policy. The Zimbabwe Industrial Reconstruction and Growth Plan was crafted to address the immediate challenges facing the local manufacturing and commerce sectors. The plan also aimed at harnessing growth opportunities in order to reduce the import bill, as well as enhancing local production capacities and unlocking export potential. A total of 115 activities were set for implementation under the following 4 pillars in terms of the plan. Commerce issues supporting industrialization, measures promoting growth of the manufacturing sector, the implementation and monitoring of the Zimbabwe Industrial Reconstruction and Growth Plan, and the crafting of the Zimbabwe National Industrial Development Policy. As of September 2025, the overall implementation of the Zimbabwe Industrial Reconstruction and Growth Plan stands at 70% in terms of completion. The key achievements under each pillar are highlighted below. Number 1, commerce issues supporting industrialization. The commerce sector, comprising banking and insurance, transport and logistics, wholesale and retail, entertainment, construction, tourism, contributes up to 60% of the country's GDP. A new policy framework for the reserved sectors was approved by Cabinet, and the ministry is now finalizing the sector's thresholds. A command center for the anti-smuggling task force was established. To pave way for the implementation of the digital payment system, a legal framework for the use of POS machines has been developed. Work on the modernization of the Chirundo and Forbes border post is underway. Under Pillar 2, measures to promote growth of the manufacturing sector. The sector accounts for 15% of the real GDP. The manufacturing sector contributes 7% to total formal employment. Capacity utilization has improved, and the pharmaceutical subsector continues to improve. The iron and steel subsector is producing over 50,000 metric tons per month, and over 2,000 jobs were created. There's been a surge in investment in terms of the cement industry, evidenced by United States dollars 15 million Washin cement plant and the United States dollars 1 billion investment by Zim in Magunje and Shuntai investments in Chegutu. The Zimsong industry in Matabeleland North Province has invested a further 5 million United States dollars in order to produce 2,500 metric tons per month, whilst Jianqing Cement Company has capacity to produce 50,000 metric tons per month. Mega Market is diversifying into trailer assembly with an initial capital injection of United States dollars 1 million. And Century Auto Vehicle, a new manufacturing vehicle plant valued at United States dollars 10 million, has been invested and is at 90% in terms of completion. In the fertilizer subsector, the government of Zimbabwe through Mtapa Investment has injected 5.3 million into the refurbishment of Doroa mine as part of the localization initiative to improve local phosphate production. The number of local fertilizer producers has increased to 16 from 14. There are other major investments earmarked in the subsector. In terms of Pillar 3, which is the implementation and monitoring of the Zimbabwe Industrial Reconstruction and Growth Plan, a comprehensive implementation matrix is in place with cluster meetings being held monthly, quarterly, and biannually. In terms of pillar number 4, the crafting of the Zimbabwe National Industrial Development Policy, the draft policy document is now in place and is fully aligned to the National Development Strategy. The conclusion of a mandate agreement between the Ministries of Industry and Commerce and Finance and Economic Development and Investment Promotion for Industry to access $100 million for industry development will be provided in the 2025 national budget. The Zimbabwe Industrial Reconstruction and Growth Plan is therefore successfully laid a strong foundation for Zimbabwe's industrialization agenda, notwithstanding the challenges faced. The progress achieved demonstrates the government of Zimbabwe's resolute commitment to industrial renewal. The issuance of Circular Number 1 of 2025 by PRAS mandating the government of Zimbabwe to procure at least 60% from local manufacturers, thereby promoting industrial growth and reducing dependence on imports. Cabinet received and noted an update report on veld fires management, a total of 211 fire incidents that burned 76,940 hectares of veld were reported during the week to the 10th of October 2025, compared to 49,745 hectares burnt during the same period the previous year. The high fire incidences reported this year is attributed to increased windy conditions experienced during the week. 3 lives were lost to the veld fires recorded to date, and property worth $1.4 million United States dollars, comprising agricultural equipment, tourism facilities, and household property, was destroyed. These veld fires have been prevalent mainly in Mashonaland West Province, Mashonaland East Province, and Mashonaland Central Province. The government of Zimbabwe convened 117 fire awareness meetings during the week ending 10 October 2025. And Cabinet would like to advise farmers to ensure that they have appropriate fire suppression equipment and teams to fight the veld fires. Farmers are further urged to use appropriate land preparation tools other than utilizing fire within a restriction period. The government of Zimbabwe will continue to enforce the relevant penalties for non-adherence to regulations against veld fires. Cabinet considered and approved the principles of the SMEs Enterprises Bill, which seeks to align the regulatory framework governing micro, small and medium enterprises to emerging needs and global trends in order to ensure the sector meaningfully contributes to socio-economic transformation. The amendments to the bill provide for the accreditation of micro, small and medium enterprises, the MSMEs, associations and the business development service providers, and review of the definition of MSMEs. The bill will also expand administrative and legislative measures in order to support the sector, to streamline board appointments and align governance provisions to corporate governance and public finance management principles. The amendment of the Small and Medium Enterprises Act will enhance the formalization of micro, small and medium enterprises and bolster their participation in the economy, thereby contributing significantly to employment creation, industrialization, export growth, and attainment of Vision 2030. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for presenting today's cabinet highlights. We now move to the first round of 3 questions. Then we get our Honorable Ministers to respond to those questions. Over to you, colleagues.
I do have questions. I thought probably some of my colleagues might start. Yeah, my first question is directed to Minister Mangalison Love regarding the permanent lasting solutions to the issue of smuggling. I remember towards the end of last year, there was a multi-stakeholder task force which was established to deal with the issue of smuggling, which obviously is a threat to the growth of the manufacturing industry. And I understand that you have also come up with another task team. What lasting solutions, Minister, do you think you are able to implement so that the issue of smuggling, which continues up to today, is dealt with? Then my second question is to the Minister of Agriculture, also regarding the issue of payment to farmers. I'm sure it's something that has been cropping up and also mentioned during last week's conference to say farmers need to be paid urgently for their grain deliveries. I don't know, Minister, whether, because these issues we have been reporting them, I'm sure, year in, year out. What also are the new measures that you think we are going to come up with this time to ensure that farmers are paid on time? Thank you.
Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chief Secretary. The first question is to the Minister of Industry and Commerce about lasting solutions to smuggling. Honorable Ndlovu, you can respond.
Thank you very much. Is it Owen? I can't see him. Oh, somewhere at the back there. Thank you so much for your question. Maybe let me start by clarifying that there is no other task force. It's the same task force that was formed last year. It's an interagency. You have your security cluster as part of the task force, but also you have other institutions like your consumer protection, your trade measures. So it is one task force that was formed last year. And that's where we are giving you some of the statistics of the work that has been done. Close to 4,000 inspections since its inception last year around November, and more than 4,800 contraband goods that were seized. So that is the work of the task force. Now, you raise a very interesting question to say, what are the lasting solutions? We have looked at this and primarily to say, what are the key drivers for people who are smuggling? In the main, they have been taking advantage of currency distortions. They have been taking advantage of a relatively higher cost of doing business in Zimbabwe as compared to in the region. So they would go and order goods relatively cheaper, avoid making all the payments that they should make, so that they can make some bit of profit. You would realize that government has been addressing almost all of these issues. We now have a very stable currency. It's very difficult to even find people who are speculating on the currency. You would find that we have been very resolute in dealing with the issues of cost of doing business. It is work in progress because most of what Cabinet has approved will culminate in legislative changes before the end of the year, and really the impact will be felt going forward. There are other smaller issues that will be addressed as we move forward. I'll give you one example that came to light as we were in Mutare for the conference, that we introduced VAT on rice. Rice is a product that ordinarily we don't grow in the region. So it has put a price differential between ourselves and South Africa of close to 15%, which is the VAT. And now people are smuggling rice into Zimbabwe just so they can take advantage of that 15%. So there are many areas that we have to address ultimately so that it is level playing field in the region and there is no motivation for one to want to go out and bring things in unorthodox means. Otherwise, our people continue to lose, because when we confiscate, it's a loss to them. We are also worried that some of these smuggled goods are not very safe for consumers, and we will be intensifying this. So it's a multi-pronged approach. As I've highlighted, government has been really investing its time and effort to make sure that we continuously improve the business environment, which in our view, we have seen even when we started the beginning of the year, a number of our manufacturers highlighting that the level of smuggling has come down and their capacity utilization has gone up. So we will continue looking at all these key drivers for smuggling, and we hope that we'll be able to put lasting solutions to that. I hope I've answered you. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Ndlovu. The second question is to the Minister of Lands and Agriculture about payments to the farmers. Over to you, Dr. Masuka.
Thank you, Chair, and thank Owen Mandova for the question. the context is that of the 81,000 metric tons of grain received by the Grain Marketing Board with a cumulative value of 257 million ZiG and 23 million US dollars. Only 57 million ZiG has been paid, leaving a balance of 200 million ZiG. 15 million Zimbabwe dollars, 15 million US dollars has been paid, leaving a balance of 8 million US dollars. So sadly, this is a very insalubrious situation indeed, because farmers have put in the effort, have delivered, but are still waiting for payment. The bulk of that payment relates to summer grains. So it means grain delivered between April and October, and a bit of wheat that has now been delivered to the GMB, just under 4,000 metric tons. So we risk running into this interactive gridlock where we have not finished paying from one season and we now have intake for another season, which sadly we have not been able to pay on time. Because government uses a cash budgeting system and that there are competing priorities for the scarce resources, it is understandable that Treasury is behind with these payments, and we unreservedly apologize to farmers on behalf of the Zimbabwe government that we are behind with these payments, although we are making stinted efforts to pay farmers. The plan, of course, is to be able to pay farmers timeously. I look forward to a day when farmers are paid as they deliver, and look forward to a day where farmers are actually paid in advance. But the plan that we are putting in place as an alternative to complement the fiscus is the establishment of the Crop Purchase Buffer Fund. A Crop Purchase Buffer Fund would be resourced from the sale of limited parcels of urban land under the Agricultural Finance Corporation, and they are in the process of doing that and establishing this $50 million war chest that will be able to summon at an appropriate time should there be a gap between what farmers have delivered and the ability of fiscus to honor that obligation. And then with the warehouse receipt system, then we'll be able to allocate the warehouse receipts to this Crop Purchase Buffer Fund. Additionally, the government now has a liberalized structured marketing system where the GMB's sole responsibility is to be able to purchase only from surplus generated by the Presidential Input Scheme, Fumvudza Intwasa, and all the production from the other financed scheme. And this is dedicated to the Strategic Grain Reserve, largely for social welfare purposes. All other requirements, be it feed or commercial milling, must be directly met by the players, the actors themselves. So a milling company must ensure that they secure their raw material requirements through contracting farmers, and if there is a shortfall, they must go into the market to purchase. So that then lessens the burden on the fiscus and on GMB. This, as of today, has resulted in the over 900,000 metric tons harvested. GMB only has an 8% market share, because that is what GMB is purchasing, only ADA and PIP produced, and the rest is now going to the private sector. So the proportion of the grain that has not been paid is less than 6%. The rest, 94%, has been paid, and because it has gone largely to the private sector. So in asking these questions and in responding, it must be contextual. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? Thank you very much, Honorable Ministers. We've come to the end of today's session.